All right, 7 o'clock Wednesday night.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. That's right, Tuesday night.
Hi, Bruce.
That's right.
We're working tomorrow night.
I think we surprised our new home here at Arugas, too, because there were a bunch of people coming in here for like the regular Tuesday night meeting, and they saw me here.
That's all right. You're here early. It's good.
Well, good.
You saved us a spot.
Pick and roll, baby. I mean, another week. I mean, we've had, a lot of great comments when we're out and about on the show and that. And gosh, we got Warren Goodling alongside here. We got an interview with Jeff Reinert coming up. We got Steve Narioli, who, Mr. Freelance and Mr. District 3. I mean, we got a jam-packed show today.
All good, man. I'm listening to us while we're talking.
It's all good. I'll tell you what, this is a great setup here. We want to thank Arugas for allowing us to do the show here. We got plenty of room. We got the TVs behind us. And we got a green room here. I mean, if you want to consider, all the space that we've got.
Sure.
But great job out here by Arugas. But anyway, we always start the show off with the week that was. Actually, it's only 6 days from the time that we did a last show, but we had a lot going on, right, Del?
Oh, boy, did we ever. I mean, the LLs are in full swing, and Coach Goodling will talk about that a little bit, but it's probably the favorite time of the year for high school basketball around here. In fact, the girls are playing tonight. They got a doubleheader, but we started Friday. We had Lebanon over Octorara. We had Manheim Central over Mennonite. In overtime, that was a doubleheader at CV. Last week we had Columbia-Warwick. Warwick won. You're going to talk about that game a little bit. Lebanon-LS. I was at Lebanon-LS. LS rolled. We'll talk about those a little bit. Manheim Central is the Cinderella team. They beat Township at Township's floor last night, and Hempfield took care of business going up to Elko, playing on a smaller floor, but they took care of business. They're tested. Danny Walk's guys are tested.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been crazy, the coverage. I mean, between you and Andy and
I counted 12 people Friday night, 12 media folks, not counting the Cable 11 5 cameras that they bring. So, there must be something out there that people want to see these games. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, postseason. I mean,
good basketball.
But look, even though for a lot of the teams in the county tournaments that are going on, Berks, Lancaster, Lebanon, York, Mid-Penn, it's not it win or go home. I mean, a lot of these teams that are playing in these tournaments now, I mean, they're going to make districts, right?
Most. I mean, we did have Manheim Township's Coast Section 1 champ. They're out. They're done because they didn't make the cutoff in 6A. We talked about that last week. In the 6A, we have only 12 teams that make it. So, but out of those 12 teams, I looked the other day, 7 make states. So you lose the first one, you get to play again, and you got all those playing games. So if you do make the cut, your chance of going to states are pretty good.
Yeah, and it gets a little confusing for me too when at the bottom of and we'll go through, the district brackets, in a couple minutes here. But you have the consolation round that just kind of fills up the bottom there, and that's great for teams to give them an opportunity, with a couple wins to actually make the state tournament just by advancing, even if they, lost a first round game in districts. Gives them that opportunity for the PIAA. I really like the fact that, it keeps everybody alive, through the postseason. What about you?
Yeah, well, and more practice for coaches, more practice for next year, more practice for their kids, more exposure for their kids too. A lot of times right now, as we said, there's a lot of media guys out there, a lot of websites, a lot of TV, and, coaches are out there too. The D3 guys are all at these games. We'll see a ton of these guys next week.
Yeah, and for me, the week was, it was pretty spectacular. Started out for me with Columbia and Lancaster Mennonite. They, win a third straight Section 5 championship. That was my first taste of, the Columbia, gymnasium.
Did you get the roll tide? Did you get the clap?
Actually, I don't think that they did that. But it was an awful lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Great place.
People are very hospitable.
Yes.
But it gets kind of heated in there too. You know, I don't know if it's because of the tight quarters or what, but it gets heated at Columbia, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, they're very interested in their basketball. There's no doubt. Rich history and good team, well coached, and the people they love Columbia. And we can tell when we live stream their games. I mean, when we live stream a Columbia game, we get more hits on that than we do anything else. We really do.
Yeah, I tell you what. And then Saturday, a fourth straight Section 2 championship for Warwick over Lebanon. And I mean, they had to reinvent themselves in that game. They didn't have their A game by any stretch of the imagination. And, Tate Landis really didn't have a good shooting night from the field, but you had to give him an awful lot of credit as that senior leader. He made things happen for himself and his team on Saturday, didn't he?
Yeah, he's the general. I mean, he's the head of the snake.
Yeah, he certainly is, and he showed that last night as Warwick then beat Columbia last night. I mean, that was one heck of a week for me.
Yeah, you were there too. I mean, you saw the best of the best this week, Bruce. But we got some more to come.
We have a lot more to come. I mean, tomorrow night, what have we got going on for a game?
Tomorrow the plan is to do, we got Hempfield and Warwick Part 2. I was at Part 1, and it was it looked like Warwick was going to come back and win the game, and then Hempfield hit a banker buzzer beater 3 at the end. So I'm sure they'll get after it a lot.
Well, and
that's on Wednesday, tomorrow. And then we got Thursday, we got the girls' finals. Mm-hmm. You're going to call that.
Yeah, with Rick Dissinger, right?
Yep. And then Friday, we're at Township again. We're going to do the boys' final.
So a lot of basketball left to be played here on LL Hoops. Thank not only the sponsors of the show, but the sponsors of LL Hoops for allowing us to get all this streaming out there. It seems like we have people that really enjoy all that we do, and we thank them for supporting the programs.
It's the only way we can do it.
Right.
The only way.
And a nice thing that I really like about the whole Lancaster Lebanon media group is how well we all work together to cover these games. And one of the guys who's really instrumental in that is Jeff Reinert. I mean, does a great job. We're lucky to have him for covering, girls basketball here for the Lancaster Lebanon League, but he's probably maybe the preeminent girls basketball reporter in the state, right?
Yeah, he won't tell you that, but he is one of the top guys. Absolutely. He knows, when we go to Hershey, he knows the teams, he knows their players, and he follows it. He follows the state brackets. He's really into it. I'd say he's one of the top guys for PIAA girls. Well,
we've got an interview with Jeff. You talked to Jeff on Sunday night. So we're going to play that interview right now, and then we'll you and I will talk about the girls District 3 bracket. So let's get that interview with Jeff Reinert rolling.
We always go to him when we need some help with the girls side, and hopefully we can snag an interview when we do the LO Hoops girls final at Township. How you doing, Jeff?
Yeah, great, Del. Glad to be with you. Busy. Regular season over, postseason. It's funny, you get to the end of the regular season and you kind of exhale and you think, oh, end of the regular season, basketball's over. But the playoffs are like another month.
Yeah.
I mean, depending who goes where and how far they get, we're looking at mid-March. So we got another month of this. So fun time.
Good. Let's do a quick breakdown of what we got for the LLs going on. I know we had Saturday games. If you want to talk about them, fine. And then we'll go into what we're going to see Tuesday night.
Sure. Okay. 4 teams left. Final 4. Tuesday night at Hempfield. Thank you, Mr. Polonis, for putting up your venue. Very nice. 5:30 first game, Titanic, championship game worthy. No offense to the upper bracket. Undefeated Columbia. Tide have been unreal. 22-0. They play Lancaster Catholic. Ta-da. How's that matchup? That's just fantastic. Catholic has 4 losses, but they're against 4 really good teams. Detz loads up his schedule every winter, and they've played a killer schedule, and they're ready for anything from here on out. Mm-hmm. They've already played DeLone. They played CB West out of District 1. They played Loyal Sock out of District 4. Catholic's ready to go. So this is an unbelievable matchup. I love the Columbia tie-in here. Charlie Detz is a Columbia boy. Columbia grad, 1,000-point scorer, former coach at Columbia, and he gets a shot at the Tide here. Just an unbelievable game. Tuesday at 5:30. I'll circle back and kind of preview it. The nightcap Tuesday is 7:30. Penn Manor, Section 1 champ, playing awesome. Plays Ephrata, which is, I hate to call them a Cinderella because they shared the section title in Section 2, but they've been awesome. I mean, they've won like 9 in a row, 10-1 in their last 11. Beat Mannheim Saturday at Mannheim to get to the semis. So yeah, that's that matchup. So Penn Manor, Ephrata at 7:30 after Columbia Catholic at 5:30. See you at Hempfield.
I always look at brackets and I always look at the times and stuff, and I'm looking at this game. I'm like, why didn't they flip those games? Because you know the fans are going to be there for the second game. Nothing against Penn Manor and Ephrata. No. I was at Penn Manor game this week, and I'm telling you, that was as full as I've seen it for a long, long time. They have a real good following, and I'm sure Ephrata does as well. So I never understand the 5:30 starts myself.
I don't know. And I was at Catholic late Saturday when they were on the phone with Zach and trying to figure it all out. And I don't quote me, but I think Catholic requested the early game. Oh. I don't know why. I don't know. But Zach slept on it. He didn't make a call Saturday night, and Sunday morning he released the brackets bright and early and said double dip at Hempfield. Originally, a couple weeks ago, he told me, I don't want any double headers. Let's just go single sites, playing round everything, single games. But he kind of changed his mind. He had the double headers for play-in and now double header for set, which works for me. Hey, I'll go watch 2 games in one chip.
Well, it works for fans too. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's okay to follow somebody on Twitter and watch the scores and stuff, but if I'm a fan, I want to see the play. I want to see the coaching. I want to see the refereeing. I want to see the atmosphere. And we just don't. I mean, and I know we just don't get that from Twitter. We get a score, we get somebody score 20, but you don't see the special plays. You don't see the interactions.
True. You were mentioning fans, and you were at the Penn Manor game Saturday. Bravo, Columbia, Saturday. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was like going to a Columbia Catholic, Elko, Lebanon Catholic game back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Columbia was packed. I'm an early bird. I'm there at 11 o'clock for a 1 o'clock game, and the line's out the door at Columbia, and Rhodes is walking around, and oh my gosh, where are we going to put all these people? I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, the crowd was great. Lebanon brought a ton of people. And the crowd was just constantly back and forth, but it was clean, good fun. There was a quick little incident at the end, but everybody got through it. But it was the loudest that I've been in a gym post COVID, and the atmosphere was just great. And that's probably the best game I've seen this year. Columbia beating Lebanon. Columbia got up 21 in the second quarter. They were trucking them, and Lebanon came all the way back. Took a lead in the fourth, and then Columbia held them off late. Great game. So Columbia comes into the semis with a lot of momentum. Ditto for Catholic. Catholic beat Hempfield Saturday, rematch of last year's title game. Beat them by 20, fair and square. Catholic made shots. They hit 9 threes. Mm-hmm. Had the transition game going. So, hey, I could spend these 15 minutes on Columbia Catholic, but let's ask me another question. Fire away.
Well, I'm glad you talk about the fans, because I was at the Penn Manor game. It was very crowded, and the administration did a good job as far as keeping kids off the floor, and it was good. I feel the same way you did at the game that I saw. So
Columbia fans, by the way, they did bum rush the court after. Mr. Rhodes was not overly pleased about that.
They didn't do that. Hard. Yeah, they didn't do that at Penn Manor, and I'm telling you one thing that I think that we should do, and I made this. It's like, why not just get a rope and have your security guys like they do at the big time games? I mean, you've been down there with Duke with me before, and they don't let anybody on the floor, but it's kind of like a given type of thing that they don't do that. And I just think it would make life a little bit easier for everybody, because one security guy or one staff isn't going to keep 100, 200 people from running on the floor. So,
I mean,
anyway, as long as
fun to see. I always like to see the kids celebrate and everything, but you can't, because you don't need people getting trampled and all that. But other than that, the fans there were just unreal. I saw some video of the Penn Manor game. That was a great looking crowd. I assume Mannheim was pretty packed Saturday night. The Don't Run Elementary, they only have the one side of bleachers, but I'm pretty sure that was probably filled as well. So Tuesday should be packed at Hempfield. I'm expecting the entire town of Columbia to be there bright and early.
Talk to me about the Penn Manor Ephrata matchup. You touched a little bit on the Catholic Columbia. Talk to me about the players, and you hit on Ephrata doing hot. Let's do a little bit of preview on that game.
Sure. Penn Manor has been a great story, and it's funny. I went back and looked at my preseason stuff in December, and I said, yada yada, Section 1, Hempfield, usual suspects, and then I said, ... Don't be surprised if Penn Manor's there. Mm-hmm. Sleeper team, Penn Manor. 5 senior starters, Goodley, Riggs, Miller, Shugra, Shepos. 5 kids that have just been through tons of Section 1 games. They've kind of been due. And I figured with those kids being seniors and Miller, who can really shoot it, and Shugra she'll be the Section 1 MVP. I mean, they won the section, and she just had an unbelievable senior year. She's been great. Not overly tall, but powerful, dribble driver, and lower shoulder. I'm getting to the glass. Look out. Fantastic. Nice as pie, too. So I'm not overly surprised about Penn Manor. I'm not. I figured if Hempfield wasn't going to win it and the Knights got second, that Penn Manor was gonna be there, and they've kind of been the team. They only had 1 section loss. They lost to Hempfield the first time around, and then the second half of the season, they've just beaten everybody. So good defensively, like a 1-3-1 half-court trappish kind of a team. They make you work just to get it over the timeline and get in your sets and what you like to do. Miller can shoot it. If she's making threes and Sugra's getting to the glass, look out. Ephrata is going to have to get a body on Lily because she's just had monster games here. I was just literally going through my stuff. Sugra's at 22 points a game with 12 threes in the last 8 going into Tuesday. So she's been unbelievable. Ephrata, Jasmine Griffin, the junior lefty, silky smooth, 16, 17 a game. She'll need 8 points Tuesday for 1,000. So she should hit that. Thought she might hit it Saturday. She needed 14 against Central. Barron's held her to 6. If you would have said Barron's hold Griffin to 6, I'd have said, Central won. Okay, Barron's. But Ephrata won. Beat them fair and square, 36-33. Griffin's fantastic. Runs the show. Can get to the glass. Gets to the line a ton. Karatisi can shoot threes from the wing. Mallory Klein is a good defensive grinder kid who can also shoot. Bryn Adams, another wing shooter kid who can catch and shoot. They're going to have to defend. I think Ephrata can score. I mean, they have kids who can score the ball, but they're going to have to defend. They're going to have to somehow shut down Shugra and not let her get 25. Mm-hmm. And they got to hope that Miller doesn't hit 3 or 4 threes. And Penn Manor's, playing with a 10-point lead all night. Fun game. Penn Manor beat them in the crossover. The score escapes my mind. I don't remember what it was, but they've played. So there's a little familiarity there. But that's a fun grinder game. That could be close if Ephrata kind of mucks it up and Griffin has a big night. Looking forward to that one. Yes.
That's cool. We're going to be on Tuesday night, so you'll be at the games when we're on. So we won't have any updates on that. But talk to us a little bit about you and I talked about districts. So let's just touch on that in our last couple minutes here.
Sure. Looks like 15 local teams in girls, 3 in 1A from CCAC. 6A, Penn Manor's in. They play Wilson. Interesting game. Hempfield plays, drum roll please, Manheim Township, hello, Street 10 Knights, oh my, playing in a winner-takes-all, loser goes home game. That's going to be a bloodbath.
How good is that?
That's great. I mean, Township and Hempfield and anything's awesome. And I talked to Kendra Merrifield, the Hempfield coach, walking out of Catholic late Saturday. I said, what's up for districts? And she said, I think we get Township. I said, ooh, that'll be fun. She goes, yeah, that'll be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
5A, couple teams in, Manheim Central, still alive. Maddie and I are 1,200 points, lose to Ephrata, but they should still have some good mo. They're the 4 seed in 5A. They play New Oxford. LS is in 5A. They play, I forget who they play, but here's the story in 5A. Garden Spot. Congrats, Sparty Nation. Had to beat CV on Friday to get in, and they did at 11-11. They get the 15 seed, first District 3 playoff trip for Garden Spot since 2008. It's been a while. It's been a long while for Garden Spot, so happy for that crew. They play Gettysburg, which is tough. They won that bracket 2 years ago. Last year they were in the final, so tough trip, but they're in. 4A, just Catholic. Catholic's the only team in. Tricky bracket for the Crusaders. They play Schuylkill Valley in the first round. They're like 19-2. Pretty good. And Catholic has to go over there to play them. If they win that game, they get Delone Catholic, the 1 seed, the back-to-back champ, undefeated. Catholic already played Delone this year, went overtime, and Delone won. So that's kind of been the, collision course game, Catholic and Delone. They would play in the second round. So if you lose that one, you go to the playbacks, and you can still make states, but that's a heck of a second round game. Yikes. 3A, Pequay Valley, good for those guys. They're back as the 3 seed. They made the LLs as the play-in team. They play Upper Dauphin. 2A, a lot of locals. Undefeated Columbia, 1 seed. They'll play Millersburg. Linden Hall, the 3-time reigning champ Linden Hall, they play Lancaster Country Day. And those 3 there all played last year. Linden Hall beat Country Day in the semis. Linden Hall beat Columbia in the final. So those are the top 3 seeds again this year. Those should be fun games. 1A, Lidditz Christian is in. They play Greenwood, and Greenwood's pretty good. They've been in the finals like 2 of the last 3 years, I want to say. And then the other 2 locals that are in play each other. Lancaster County Christian plays Mount Calvary, so one of them will be out. So we'll see how many locals in 1A advance. But should be fun. I think Columbia obviously has a shot to go way deep. Linden Hall, they've won 3 of these in a row. I mean, if Linden Hall plays Columbia, nothing against Country Day, they have a great chance. But, if Linden Hall and Columbia play at the Giant Center in a couple of weeks, that'll be bananas. I think they have a really good chance to go deep. That 2A winner, I think, is going to get in a good state bracket and have a chance to go deep. So, exhale. I think that's all the District 3 info. 15 locals in, at least 1 in every class. So we'll be busy starting next week with districts.
You're always busy. Hey, I hope you join us for a pregame interview for the finals at Township.
Thursday night, 7:00 at Township. We'd love to have you on the pregame interview like we've done before. It's always good talking to you, Jeff. That'll be fun. You know what? Monday night, I know this is on after Monday night, I'm going to cover a boys game. Do I have your permission to cover? Can I go cover a boys game, please? Monday night, I'm going to see LS Lebanon. I heard that's like a bonkers matchup.
And you know what? I'll be there, so you and I can share some stories up in the press box.
Nice.
If there's room in the press box. I counted 12 media at the boys games the other day. Not counting camera guys.
I better call the AD at LS and tell her I'm coming. I'm anxious to see this LS boys team. I hope it's a good game. You're going to see this after that game, but I heard LS is like undefeated and like shoots threes.
Yeah,
and then I may go to the boys final on Friday. I just that intrigues me. I may have to go and watch whoever that is. So
the boys tournament is probably more open than I've seen. Usually you got 1 or 2 teams. You're like they're going to play, but not this year. It's going to be good. So I will see you. Thank you so much. And hopefully I will see you on Thursday for an interview on LL Hoops Live.
Awesome. Thank you, Del.
Okay, that was Jeff Reinert from LNP. Clearly, we're very lucky to have Jeff and the fans, and especially the teams here in the Lancaster Lebanon League, having Jeff cover them. Just great work.
Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, it's worth the $20 fee to just watch his. He works. He's out all the time. I swear he's out 5-6 nights a week, and he does his Sunday notebook, and he's very active on the Twitter too. So,
yeah.
Hey, I heard you got some breaking news.
Breaking news! Don't we have like a girls' final action?
What do you got?
Well, looks like Lancaster Catholic has beaten Columbia. What was that? 44-42?
43-42.
43-42.
And Jeff talked about that game, on his interview. So, pretty good stuff. Columbia hadn't lost, and Lancaster Catholic's battle tested. So, wild game.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Why don't we'll say we got an interview with Ty Burton. We'll save him for maybe sure. when we do the boys stuff there too. Yeah. But let's you and I talk a little bit about the girls bracket after all this time.
Yeah,
these power rankings have turned into actual brackets, and for 1A, I mean the on the girls side there, I mean it is just filled with Lancaster Lebanon League teams.
Yep. Who do you got? I'm pulling it up.
All right, yeah, because my 1A all of a sudden
I was
just
on the 6A, but go ahead. 1A, go ahead.
1A.
Who's the favorite?
That's a good question, because
Greenwood.
Mount Calvary Christian is the number 1 seed, but quite honestly, I'm kind of going with some of my own roots, and High Point I think is. Oops, that's the boys. I'm sorry. Wrong one there. I was going to say, what?
Christian York, they're the favorite. So they're playing the championship Saturday.
See, I just, I'm having a hard time thinking that Lancaster Country Christian is going to go quietly. I mean, I've liked them all year. They've done a great job. But, Christian School of York, 21-1, the number 1 seed. They're going to be tough to beat. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, in 2A...
We only got 4 teams, Bruce.
I know, well...
And Columbia just lost, but they're still heads and tails. Probably them and Linden Hall, I would think. Country Days right there, too. We got 3 teams from Lancaster.
It's hard to imagine that Columbia, even though they lost to Lancaster Catholic, that they're going to lose in the 2A. I think that if there's maybe a prohibitive favorite, for all, maybe next to Reading High, I think Columbia in the girls 2A bracket.
And the boys.
Right, well, exactly right. Well, we didn't get that far yet. But, and in 3A.
Well, there's a familiar name, Trinity. Ranked 2nd. Brandywine Heights got the buys.
From my Berks County roots there, Brandywine Heights has had a great season. But those buys mean so much, don't they? I mean, not only to get a little bit of rest, especially after these teams have played, a county tournament, to jump right into district playoff action. That's a little bit tough. So having a game off, I think, means a lot. Brandywine Heights, they've had a great season as well. But what about your Pequay Valley? I mean, I followed them the other year. I got a lot of respect from following them when they made the girls LL championship a couple years ago. So a lot of respect there. Going to be very interesting to see that on the 3A side. 4A, I think, Berks Catholic, one of the ones that has got to be favored, in the 4A side. If my brackets will load here, I know Berks Catholic is...
DeLone's unbeaten, too. Can't count them out.
But I tell you what, isn't it hard to beat a team, even DeLone? I mean, Berks Catholic's lost twice to them. And it doesn't look like they would face one another until the finals, which I think is the most intriguing thing. Even though Berks Catholic kind of dropped down to number 3, I think that, them not having to play DeLone till they get to Hershey.
Well, that's the way it's set up. 1s versus 2. I mean, that's what they try to do.
That's
Get a
what
good
they
game
try
in the
and
finals.
do. Yeah, that's what they try and do. But
It's all based on the numbers, too.
it really is. And, we had Coach Birmingham on, a couple of weeks ago. He, really, sometimes teams just have another team's number, regardless of what sport it is.
Yep.
You just have to try and, get over that hump. And definitely DeLone has Berks Catholic number. We'll just have to wait and see how that, all shakes out. But I think Berks Catholic could be maybe the upset special there in 4A and 5A. My gosh, it is just. And see, when I look at a tournament, I like to see kind of, a full bracket, which is what's nice in both 5A brackets. You got 16 teams that are going to run the table and play it out. Which I think is great. And this is obviously gets confusing when you have all the consolation bracket.
I think they take 7, I think.
Yeah.
7 out of the 16.
Well, Mannheim Central, number 4, they've had a great season. We saw them. I saw them at Lancaster Catholic.
Yeah, you saw them minus their star, though.
And they played very well. They reinvented themselves, that game. So I like it. There are so many teams to like. Mechanicsburg, being number 1. I'm really interested to see how they fare in in their county tournament there. But
they have all home games too, up to the finals.
And that's what I like about the tournaments as well, is that I like the home cooking there. That's why you play. I think having that District 3 has, done a great job to emphasize the regular season that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Knowingly or unknowingly. And what about, the 6A here? We're going to have next week, 6A here. We're going to have the boys Cedar Cliff coach, Ty Sabercool.
Yeah, Ty will be on.
But, Cedar Cliff girls gone through undefeated so far and number 1. We had Jay Rexroth on, early on, and he had his 2 losses, and they've run the table.
Yeah.
Since January.
Yep.
They're just very, very good. It's really hard for me to see how anybody's going to, come close to there.
Okay. All right, man. We got guys coming in here.
Guys coming in, and it's going to be really interesting to see, what happens on the boys' side. We're going to have a couple commercials, and then we'll be right back with Warren Goodling to talk about the boys' side.
Okay, cool.
Want to thank Spooky Nook Sports for all of their support in these broadcasts. Spooky Nook Sports is like the place for basketball as well as other sports here in Lancaster County.
When we get to talk to the brackets, I'll pull them off.
Thanks to My Jersey Designs for their support in these broadcasts. $250, you get a replica of the jersey that you wore while you were in high school. Great stuff there. The Big 60 tournaments at Spooky Nook, a big sponsor here of LL Hoops and everything we do. And thanks once again to Brute Athletic Apparel. Brute does a great job with all types of AAU basketball uniforms. I'm wearing some of my retro Brute gear here tonight. So we appreciate Brute Athletic and not only your support of pick and roll, but your support of the entire LL Hoops program.
I just hit the back button and it'll take.
So now,
I get it.
moving on in for his turn here tonight is the world famous Warren Goodling. Warren, smile at the camera.
Hey, how we doing tonight?
Yeah, well, good. Camera's that way.
Playoff time.
Playoff time is right. You and I were together last night for some playoff basketball.
Yes.
Why don't you talk a little bit about, there was such a anticipation of that Columbia, Warwick game, in the LL tournament.
Well, it's 2 teams that could have won could win the Lancaster 11 League, and they played in the quarterfinal round last night in front of a big crowd at Warwick. And it was a nip and tuck game in the first half. And then Warwick hit a little stretch where they got a little separation, maybe 5 to 7 points, and they did a great job of hanging on to that and building on that in the second half. And Warwick played an outstanding game last night and sort of ended Columbia's hope for a Lancaster 11 League title. But Columbia has an outstanding team, and they have a lot to look forward to in districts and in the state playoffs.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've played such a killer schedule, which really prepared them for the postseason. And, after watching Columbia, all year, it was a little different for me to see somebody really, down the stretch, actually, pull away from Columbia, right?
Well, Warwick is battle-tested. They've seen pressure defenses this year, and they had a great plan. They have a great guard in Landis, but their other guys at every position did a great job of handling the ball and eliminating turnovers that can get a fast break going. So their half-court offensive execution last night was very patient against Columbia, but it was smart, and they got a lot of nice looks on curl cuts and backdoors and screens and slips, and they got some nice buckets on that. And Landis played an outstanding game, okay, because he had to handle that pressure all night, and his defense was outstanding also.
Well, talk a little bit about, you're going to be doing the championship game of the Lancaster Lebanon League tournament, coming up this Friday. What are you looking to, to transpire here over the next couple of days?
Boy, that's why you play the game, because you don't know exactly. There's 4 really good teams, and Manheim Central proved that they're a very good team last night by going to Manheim Township and winning that game. And they're going to play LS tomorrow night, and they lost to them twice, but they always say it's hard to beat a team 3 times. We're going to find out. They'll certainly have a game plan because they know each other so good. So they know each other so well. So both teams will be ready to play that game, and obviously LS is the favorite, but you got to play the game. And the second game is going to be Warwick and Hempfield, and there's 2 teams that really know each other, even though they're not in the same section, but for years they were in Section 1. So they've had that rivalry going for many, many years. And they played a 1-point game last time, so I think everybody's expecting another game very similar to that.
Well, good. And, there's other tournaments going on. In the Burke side, with me, we'll talk a little bit about the tournaments, and then you and I will take a look at some of the power ranking information. On the Burke side, it seems to be, pretty much the big schools kind of, taking hold with Reading, and then also Exeter pull off an upset against Wilson. So, we'll see how the Berks County tournament shakes off on the boys' side. On the girls' side, Berks Catholic seems to be the favorite, there in the Berks League tournament. Why don't you talk a little bit about what's going on down in the York tournament there?
Well, in the York tournament tomorrow night at York Votech, they have a brand new gym, so they have a big facility, and there'll be a great doubleheader there tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. It'll be Northeastern, who's 15-8. They're going to play. They were the second place team in Division I, and they're going to play West York, who was the Division II champion, and West York's 20-2. And those 2 teams played earlier. In fact, they played at the Christmas tournament at West York. And, West York won that game. It wasn't a blowout or anything. It was a very competitive game. So this is playoff basketball. So I look for that to be a toss-up. And I think people say in York County, it's wide open. Anybody can win it this year. Okay. Yeah. And the interesting thing about that game is, I go back to my man Parrish Petrie, because Parrish Petrie, his first assistant coach when he was the head coach at West York is John Eister, who's now the head coach at Northeastern. John Eister was a player at West York back in the 80s. So that's an interesting thing. And Garrett Bowl played for Coach Petrie at Redline. He's now the head coach at West York. So it's a pretty unique situation with those 2 guys and those 2 schools.
Yeah, we had a chance to talk to Garrett early on this year, and that whole situation, over in York County there, it's very unique in the way that everybody either played for somebody or coached there.
It's amazing, but they're all connected somehow, and Northeastern has really gotten better. They have a really good player in Cameron Mowry. He's a very good guard. He can score at all 3 levels, and West York, they just rely on their team basketball. They have 7 good, 8 good, 9 good players that share some playing time, and they just play good team basketball.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, the second game is Eastern York versus Redline. Eastern was the second place team in Division II, and Redline was the first place team in Division I. And Redline probably hasn't won a league title since maybe 2003, 2004, 2005, something like that, when Coach Petrie was the coach there at Redline. But they are primed to win it this year. They're probably the favorite, 18-5 coming out of Division I. They have a really good guard in Evan Watt, who's a really good all-around player. They have a big guy by the name of Mason Uri. And they've had some really good non-league games. So they're sort of tested, getting ready for the playoffs. Eastern York's a physical team. They have 2 nice big young guys, Wansley and Bosman are both underclassmen, and they're physical guys inside. And they have some shooters that if you double team, they'll hit the outside shot. So that's going to be a tricky game too. So it's going to be interesting over there at Yorkville Tech tomorrow night.
Well, that's good. And, the Mid-Penn is going to be very interesting with everything going on there. Really a big fan of, Cedar Cliff. And that, in fact, Ty Sabercool is going to be on the show next week here live, from my understanding. So I'm anxious to see, from the Mid-Penn, they kind of do a little scaled back kind of schedules. They really only play like the section champions in the tournament there, right?
It's sort of what people would say, that the focus on the Mid-Penn is the district tournament. And you talk to coaches up there, and that's sort of the culture up there, to get ready for districts. And I know there's focus on districts here too, in the LL and in York. But the tournaments here in LL are pretty special.
Yeah, the tournaments, and I can tell you that, the tournaments in the Berks League are, pretty special as well. They can get some crowds at the Santander Arena that, go crazy, and that's, a lot to do with Reading High. I mean, the following there too, but, they have such a nice facility there to do the finals. It brings out a lot of fans.
It's a good situation.
It is a very good situation.
Very nice atmosphere.
Very nice atmosphere. So, all right. Well, why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about the boys bracket here. You're gonna pull yours up on the computer. I've got it here on my phone.
Which one you want to look at?
Yeah, let's look at 1A first. Let's start at the bottom and go on up. We were talking a little bit, but I'm a real fan of High Point. That's Berks County team there, but Mount Calvary Christian. I mean, the number 1 seed in 1A. Like I said, I like these brackets just visually that are even. You got 8 teams. You just kind of play it out.
Nobody gets a bye.
Nobody gets a bye. See, I think that, I don't think that it hurts the regular season. I think it really adds more suspense to the postseason. What do you think?
No, I like the even brackets. Absolutely.
And so let's talk a little bit about the 2A bracket. And it's pretty hard, not to really talk about, Antietam, another Berks County school that's kind of wedged in between, Reading High and the Exeter School District. For you guys that, don't know where Antietam is, it's really right there in Reading. And I tell you what, big winning tradition for Antietam, but the Lone Catholic, on the boys' side as well. Another fine season. It's going to be very interesting to see, how it all plays out. Upper Dauphin, I mean, good athletes there. It's going to be a lot of fun. 2A is going to be knockdown, drag out for that particular championship.
And then we have Lancaster Mennonite that is hoping to make a move there too.
Look at the schedule. I mean, they're battle tested, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw them play against Berks Catholic. I saw them play against Columbia.
Yeah.
I mean, those are 3 and 4A schools, and they were a little bit undermatched, against Columbia the other night. But definitely, you don't want to sell Lancaster Mennonite short by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, one of the prohibitive favorites for a district championship is Columbia.
Right.
They've played well all season, but obviously they showed that they were human last night with their, getting beat by Warwick. What do you think?
They played a really good 6A team has been in the battles the last 4 or 5 years. And so I think last night, the fact that they had to go to Warwick, and Warwick's a 6A team, and, Warwick's been battle tested. They met their match last night, but Columbia is in for great things in the postseason here in districts and in states.
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine anybody beating them in district, and in 4A, it's really going to be a dogfight. Berks Catholic is seeded number 1. I mean, they're in 4A, but they're playing a Berks Section 1 schedule. So, they've played Reading High twice. They've played, the teams, the likes of Wilson, Governor Mifflin, and Exeter. And you can say what you want, but when you move up in classification in any sport, whether it's basketball or whatever, that is a big leap. Anybody catch your eye there? Obviously, we had Chris Bradford from Middletown on the program. That's a tough first-round matchup that they've got to go up against Bishop McDevitt. You kind of hate that, for the Mid-Penn to have, two teams kind of knock themselves out, so to speak.
Well, then you have Trinity also in the lower bracket, too.
Right.
So the winner of the Middletown McDevitt game could very easily be looking at Trinity, although they'll have to get by perhaps Bowling Springs, who has a really good player that's going to Shippensburg. So
yeah, that's got to be a lot of.
Larry Kostelak has always had his team in success in the playoffs, so he'll have them ready for Trinity. So that Trinity is going to be a tough out in anybody in that 4A battle.
Yeah, it really is, and I think for the Mid-Penn fans, they're probably crying the blues a little bit because all their teams are down in the same bracket.
That's what the power rating does.
Sure, right. I mean, they can't control that,
It just comes out by the numbers.
Sure, and on the 5A side, I'm really intrigued by, LS. Everybody's really intrigued by LS.
Right.
It's like, the real deal. I mean, you're going to get a first-hand look at them, or we'll get a first-hand not on streaming, but we're going to be at the game tomorrow.
We're going to be at the game tomorrow, and LS's focus right now is to win the LL League, okay? But when it comes to districts, I mean, they'll have to take care of business, and they have, they could be looking at Manheim Central Northeastern winner. They will be looking at one of those teams in the second round. And I saw a team earlier this year, Palmyra, and they're very good. So they're in the top half of the bracket with LS. So Palmyra is a team you got to keep an eye out on. But Palmyra opens up with Susquehannock, and it's a talented team. That's one of the 2 teams that beat West York this year was Susquehannock. But the Palmyra would be playing that game at home. And then in the lower bracket, you have West York, and they'll play a home game all the way into the finals if they can keep winning. But they'll have some landmines along the way with a good Shippensburg team. Exeter, you say, pulled an upset last night?
Yeah, they beat Wilson last night in the Berks tournament there. But I'm telling you, I sit here and I look at the brackets, I'm going like, anybody really. In 5A, it's so wide open. I mean, there's a lot of great basketball.
And Elizabethtown got on a real streak near the end of the season where they were playing very good basketball. They were beating a lot of Section 1 teams. So you can't count them out because, Lee's done a great job with that group this year, and they're going to have, an opening round home game, so that'll really help them. Yeah,
it really does. I mean, and in the 6A side, just like I talked about, I mean, teams of similar styles are, the prohibitive favorites. And obviously Columbia in 3A with that fast-paced pressing style. And, Reading High, in 6A. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's never been an easy game in 6A because sometimes the teams are so closely, they're so even. And then nowadays you have to go on the road. You don't play at a neutral site, so you have to play a home game. So it'll be interesting to see the value of the home game in the district tournament. Some teams love to go on the road, and they just say it's us against the world. Mm-hmm. And they try to, and then, sometimes the pressure's on the home team because everybody thinks you're going to win. And there's no pressure on the visiting team, so they go in and they're loose as a goose, and they come up with a big upset. But The opening round games, the Waynesboro-Wilson game and Cedar Cliff-Muhlenberg game is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Warwick and Lebanon, two teams that know each other. That's going to be another battle. And these first round games, if you lose that game, your season's over. Okay, the teams that have a bye, they actually only have to win 1 out of 3 to get into the state tournament.
Yeah.
The teams that, the top 4 that have a bye.
Yeah.
So there's not quite as much pressure as in that first night in 6A when you have those 4 games. The winner advances, the loser goes home.
It is like I said, Rick Perez and that Reading High team, just looking at everything that plays out here, I mean, wow. Just like you said, I mean, clearly the most intriguing matchup is the 5-12. For me, is Cedar Cliff and Muhlenberg.
Yeah,
I mean, Muhlenberg's a 12 seed, and they just beat Reading High.
That's amazing.
It's the embodiment of work for your entire season, not one season, but clearly they're on a high note, and
well, when you're in 6A, you like it. You look and say, well, we don't want to play them first night. There's nobody you want to play the first night because everybody's pretty good.
Yeah, clearly, and. I mean, it's great. I mean, this is so much fun in kind of taking a look at it. They're didn't really get into who we think of everybody's bracket busters or whatever like that. We actually still have next week's show. I mean, the tournament will have just started. A couple of games. But we'll have time to talk about bracket busters next week.
Well, next week your show's on Wednesday, correct?
Yes, correct. Yep.
So you'll have some results to look at.
For Monday and Tuesday, some first round games.
And it'll be interesting to see, how that shakes out because there'll be some fun games Monday and Tuesday. Yeah,
it will be a lot of fun Monday and Tuesday. And listen, Warren, it's always a pleasure to have you. I mean, you and I, we at least our paths cross now here with the show,
right?
And doing a few games, where I'm producing, and then you and Eric can, calling whatever like that, which will be the case tomorrow night.
Yep.
So, I can tell you that I'm a better basketball person because I listen to Warren Goodling talk about basketball.
Well,
I can tell you that unequivocally. I mean, it's great to hear you do a broadcast, and the fans are in this area are just so lucky and fortunate to have this guy. I mean, and you're going all the way up to the NFHS again, right? You're doing state title or whatever like that again
with state finals again for that. But it's just when you watch a game, you just sort of talk about what you see happening, and it's pretty natural and it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's
and you look at the coaches and you say, oh yeah, I've been there. Okay, what do you So it's just it's a good way to stay involved in the game, and it's a lot of fun to see these players and coaches have success.
Yeah, but are you still doing your worldwide travel? I mean, and their travel team or whatever like that?
Yeah, well, I played in a tournament in Tampa at the Tampa Bay Masters actually 2 weekends ago. We played 5 games in 4 days on the team that I'm on called Global USA, and we did win the championship in that tournament, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I had to plug that. I mean, somehow I had to get to the fact that that your Global USA team won, and that was a world championship.
No, that was just a
U.S. championship.
No, that was a Tampa Bay Masters championship. Yes.
Wow, incredible! And then you play all around the world. You're playing.
We played in Finland in 2019, and we're supposed to play in Spain this summer. So we'll see how that goes if we can get over there. So
yeah, well, I think they're starting to relax restrictions or whatever like that. But maybe something he didn't know about Warren that I wanted to share is the fact that this guy is not only talks about basketball or is coached basketball, he's still playing basketball.
It's fun. It's a good, I haven't taken up golf yet. So.
All right, Warren Goodling. Hey, always a pleasure, my friend. All right, we're going to go to some commercials, and then we're going to have Del Jackson and Steve Navrioli from District 3 and All Points West here. All right, thanks to the Big 60. Really appreciate their support. All right,
I'm going to see
broadcast.
You're leaving? Yeah, I got to work tomorrow morning, and I'll be.
My Jersey Designs. $250 gets a replica of the jersey that you played in high school. Check them out. Nook Basketball. If you're into basketball in District 3, you're definitely passing through Nook Basketball. Thanks for all of their support. And thanks to Brute Athletic for your support of these broadcasts and all of LL Hoops programming.
A little better, and by the time I got home, it was a little bit better. You felt better, right? Yeah. And when I go
All right, Bruce, we're still on here, buddy, huh?
to the store the next day,
Hope so.
Okay.
True. That game was you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, Act
Oh,
did the same
man.
thing for a
Dude,
while, so.
Same thing, and that guy talked about all
It
the
was,
I have
I
no
said,
doubt.
You need to put it on your right side.
it
Right
was,
side, okay.
"Jack, if you need to stay at my house,
Pretty
one
good
night,
here, dude. We're still live or on?
We're
still live.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
just,
right.
we'll wait
I
to
love
see if
Act.
it's ready.
I love
You
that
guys all
guy.
set?
So,
Yep, good
I
friend.
think so. Coach Goodling, he's talking, man. He's a good talker. All right, man. Hey, we're back. I got Steve Navaroli with me. You and I were talking, so just give me a little background. We got a coach in the frame there. We'll see you, Coach. Thank you.
He's just like one of the fans that are basketball.
You shouldn't complain tomorrow when that happens.
Right.
All right. Just tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Well, for right now, I'm still freelancing for Lancaster News as my main one. Every once in a while, I get a little bit of work elsewhere, but LMP's been great to me, and hopefully they like the work that I've done for them. Been 7 years now doing stuff for them. I also do a lot of websites. I'm the webmaster for the York Adams League, a couple schools over there, a couple teams over there, but I'm also now have started working with Rob Frisco at District 3 as one of the power rankings tabulators.
Well,
which, you know, is a lot
that's
of
pretty
setup
big.
stuff. Yeah,
I mean, that's huge right now.
It is right now.
How much? I don't know. How much stress is that to get those scores in as quick as you guys do?
Well, here's the toughest thing, because we do. Ideally, you know, the athletic director should, you know, have access and should be entering, but there's always going to be a couple that, for whatever reason, and I'm not accusing anything, but that we need to chase down. But the biggest challenge, and I don't know that people necessarily, I didn't realize this until I started doing it, if a team, say in a tournament, plays a team from District 1,
Yes.
and, you know, we need
Yes.
not just that District 1 team score,
The
we
records
need their
and
entire schedule.
So you can
But
do the
for the
yes,
power rankings
yes.
to do
Okay.
strength of schedule
Yep.
and all the necessary things there. So that's a challenge. Some districts, District 1 has a phenomenal site
It's
that I
awesome.
can find
Yeah,
everything.
It's awesome.
You've been on
It is very good.
but some other districts, that is not a luxury that we have. So you know that is a lot of the time-consuming stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and it really, I like it. It's fun. It's almost like stuff that I did, you know, as a kid, trying to find stuff, and that I really enjoy that. But for the stress was this weekend when we had the cutoff, and that was making sure we had every score, making sure we had everything listed, and you know, what do you know? One score
I saw that.
somewhere else
One was messed up.
changed.
Yep, changed the
one of the
seeding.
girl seedings,
But
that
it didn't
changed
knock
the
anybody
game.
out, though,
Did
just
not
the
knock
seeding. Oh,
anybody
that's
out.
good.
But it was
Yes.
unfortunately it was a 4-5
Yes.
flip, which took a bye
Yeah.
away from
Away
a
from
team
one
and
team.
gave one to another. It was an unforeseen thing. I had checked those that morning
Yep.
and said, okay, we got it right. And so, you know, that's the unfortunate part of it.
So let me understand this, because this is new to me. I mean, everybody and their mama's on District 3, District 3, what is it, PIAA3.org?
Yeah, PIAAD3.org.
Okay, so we're on that, and Bruce and Warren and I have been on it today. We've been looking at
Yeah.
the brackets and everything, and that's cool. So after a game, the ADs have access to put the score in, or do you have to put all them by hand?
The brackets that you see, that we do by hand.
Okay.
That is Rod or I do that. So basically the athletic director is kind of off the hook now. But during the power rankings times,
Yes.
they have direct, it's called GIMPware is our software. And
Okay.
you see it comes up that
Okay.
way when you
Yep.
look at the power rankings. They have a login to the GIMPware, and when they enter a score, the tabulations happen
automatically. Okay.
pretty much automatically.
Okay.
You just have to remember to hit refresh.
So the schools basically are entering those scores.
Correct.
And then you got to chase some
we have to chase
down.
some. We have to chase some, and sometimes you got to. And listen, I mean, Rod Frisco's been doing this 12 years.
Yes.
So I've been doing it a couple months. I had no score issues. There was a couple accidental scores, and every time there was, an AD emailed and said, "Hey, I messed this up. Can you fix it?" So because we certainly have ways to check.
Yes.
But it's kind of nice knowing that you don't necessarily have to for the wrong reason.
Sure.
That's my biggest point.
Sure. Well, you and I talked a little bit. I mean, when you first started, you're doing deadlines and you're typing and you're putting stuff in, and now, and we find this with our website is if you make a mistake, you're a click away from changing it. So hopefully you don't make that mistake. But unlike the newspaper, which is out in somebody's driveway at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's like, oi, we messed up. So I mean that's kind of cool. I know once in a while on our website somebody will say, hey, you got this score wrong, and it happens. Sometimes you flip them. So that's an interesting process. So now, what is your job going to be as the districts go on? I mean, I know you're tailing Rod, but I mean, what are your responsibilities in the district championship games? Are coming up in 2 weeks.
Right. Well, ideally, keep in mind one thing that having two of us doing a little bit now is going to allow us to be in two places at once. So district championship weekend is a great example of this. Well, Thursday, both Rod and I will be there all day, and I'll help them. We'll gather information, do a lot of Twitter posting, our social medias, and that. But then the next 2 days is, of course, the District 3 swimming championships. So, of course, I'll be there because I cover swimming for LNP, but I'll also do some things for districts, for District 3, photos of champions.
Yes.
If there's records, certainly we're going to be posting things and that. So for the time being, with both of us doing it, I think we're going to get better coverage. I mean, Rod doesn't necessarily need me there for basketball. He's been doing it for years. But, I think what we'll do is cover it a little bit, maybe do things a little bit differently.
Sure. Hey, you and I talked about the number of hits you guys get. And we were talking about, are we talking social media or like a week? I mean, we do statistics on our site, and everybody does, and you kind of see where the people are coming from. But who's hitting your Twitter site? Who's hitting your website? Like now, it's got to be crazy.
Oh, it is. And I think, just from a Twitter following standpoint, it's somewhere 20, 30,000. I haven't looked at that lately, and I have not had access to the analytics.
Right.
I know how to do it and where to find it, but I haven't really seen, and because it's things that I look at for the York Adams League, for the work I do for them, and try to get an idea. And you can see when it's the week before and things start getting bigger. You'll get an indicator saying, your hits were up 78% or whatever. And then I try to dive into the numbers some, but then I try to avoid them at the same time because I remember what the pandemic numbers were. So
the pandemic numbers were good to us. I know that. I mean, everybody was loving LO Hoops last year.
When they couldn't go to games.
Absolutely.
Right? I meant when the schedule was nil, when we had nothing. We had nothing basically. You try to look at those things.
So on the district games coming up, we're going to try to do a couple of final games coming up here. But do you do video? Do you do pictures? How does that work into District 3's website and social media?
Well, keep in mind, we are so fortunate to have some incredible photographers, and as long as their employers are willing to share their work, we will always give them credit. Now, a lot of times Twitter, that would be taking a quick picture, kind of like what we all do at games. So for the social media aspect, that we do, but you'll see on our District 3 websites and that you'll see like team photos or even an action photo to make our page of a particular sport. And we're talking basketball, that's your gig. But it could be bowling, it could be any sport. The photos we get a lot of times will come from the many talented photojournalists, and I'm not going to kid anybody. There's two guys that come to mind. Jason Melmont in Carlisle does a great job. You give me a Chris Knight photo from LNP any day of the week.
How about Mark 22? He's our
love
guy.
Mark. I love him. Love him. I was just with him. In fact, Mr. Bill's Mafia. Mark shot the LL team bowling with me today.
I know.
So
I
just
know he
spent
did
time
rifle
with him.
last week too.
He told me that.
Yeah, he was doing
Yes.
rifle. I said, "How do you
Yeah.
do that?" He says, "We're not allowed to shoot when they're pulling the trigger."
They're
I said,
pulling
"Well,
the
I
trigger,
would
yeah.
hope not."
Well, then the key was, and it's great because now these guys, especially the really good guys like a Mark or
Yes,
Chris,
yes.
they've got their equipment is so good they don't have to worry about flash.
Correct.
Because flash is a no-no
Yes.
in almost any event
Yeah.
now.
And I see that once in a while. So I know it hurts you. You guys do a great job. You have security there, and that is not an issue. How about programs? I know we have a district-free program. Are you in charge of that, or is that a separate?
That actually falls under somebody else, because
Okay.
which is good. But we've got a great committee, depending on the sport, that handles things with the programs, and they've went with a lot of online programs, which is
that a pay for online program? You can just
No.
hit
So
your
you
link
can
and it'll
hit
be
it.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, we did that last year, and we didn't get any pay.
Yeah.
but we did an online program, and it looked cool because there was color, and you could update automatically.
Right.
You could put a bracket in. You could do a lot of things right up to game time way.
It's just like the profession I left full time. Where do you make your money on the web? It is a challenge to get it figured out, and like I said, I'm just thrilled for all the work I get from LNP. I'm working 3, 4, 5 days a week, but it's hard. I'm glad they're decisions I don't have to make.
Let's talk about York County a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on in York County? I know Coach Goodling did it.
Yeah.
You do scores.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've done York and you've done LL, and you did an LL game the other day. You did Central and Township.
Oh yeah, what a game that was last night. Crazy.
I was watching a little bit of it. It was live streamed by Township. I was watching a little bit, and it looked like Central was going to run away, and then it got close.
Well, they ran away on a 23-2 run, and I kidded Charlie Fisher after. I said, "You planned that run, right?" And Charlie's such a funny guy, and he just laughed. He said, "Yeah, I drew that one up," But to think, but he said it wasn't comfortable because right back came Township. They made it a game at the end. But Central, I'm old school. I'm not a young guy. Central goes 6 for 7 from the line in the final 2 minutes.
Sold it. Yeah.
We are not, you're at games, we are not seeing that aspect of the game right now.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool to see for an old school guy.
Talk to me about York a little bit.
Okay. Well, you know what? It's funny because York's strength this year, I think, to me, maybe the most unexpected, impressive team has been Redline, which won Division I there, but they're ranked 11th or 12th in the seeding because, unfortunately, Division I there has several 5A teams, so they lose a little bit of point, and the league in that division was down. And I talked to Steve Schmel just a couple weeks ago about this very thing, but you look at the talent. He graduated off that team from last year. Top 2 scorers, including a do-everything guy in Devontae Dennis, and they're right back winning that division. It's amazing. So, and Northeastern has done really well. They're a 5A school. They came in second. And I heard Warren talk about, obviously his West York, and and he talked about Garrett Bull, who did an unbelievable job. So, the 5A's a little bit stronger. Susquehanna, you've got Northeastern I mentioned, so you got West York, Northeastern, and there's somebody I'm omitting, Gettysburg.
There you go.
And you've got these teams. Honestly, if I looked at York YAI basketball right now, the scarier portion's on the girls' side.
Okay.
You have got countless top 3 seeds. In 6A girls, 3 of the top 4 seeds.
Yep.
Or 3 of the top 5.
Right.
Are York Adams teams. In 4A, how about 3 4A teams in the top 8, including unbeaten DeLone Catholic, who Jerry Eckenrode just makes a habit of either getting to state finals or winning them.
Are they, do you know offhand, is the 4A girls, is that on Saturday, championship?
You know what? I don't know offhand. I'm sorry. I don't want to steer anybody the wrong way.
Because,
but, you know.
we might be doing some live streaming of some games, so I don't know if we'll be there for that, but I know them in Lancaster
you could be
Catholic
and you've got Lancaster, Eastern York. Eastern York is 4A in girls. They are really good. I mean, they beat Redline the other night in the York Adams tournament.
Why is the tournament at York Tech?
They built a beautiful
It's a cool gym.
new facility.
How does it compare to an LL school?
It would be similar to Township.
Okay.
It would be.
They got the deck up on top.
Got the deck up on top. New hanging scoreboard.
Is this first
everything
year?
very digital.
First year for that?
year.
And
it just
you were at
opened
York
this
College
year.
Before?
It was at York.
Girls.
Yeah. It was at York College before, and they ended up. There was a conflict. For York College, because they scheduled the semifinals to be at York Tech already.
All right.
So once York College then wasn't available, it was just natural to keep it at Tech.
Do you think that'll continue, or it depends on how it goes?
I think it'll depend on how it goes. I think everybody loves it. I mean, York College is a great host. They love it. But what a recruiting tool.
Yeah.
To show off that gorgeous facility.
Sure.
But Tech is within the league. I don't know the dollars and cents behind it. I really don't know that aspect of what's involved. But if you have a league school, have that kind of facility, does that
the LL's
lean you that way? Very possible.
The LL's done Township for 12 years, and it was a financial move, and it's turned out, Township's only been there once, so there's not been too many complaining about that.
Right. I don't know. Certainly, look, so the original York Adams tournaments were at the old Central York.
Yeah.
And that was home court advantage. Especially the year Central had that amazing girls team back then. So it's a risk that you take. Tech situation's a little different. And I don't want to speak out of school about poor Tech, but their situation is different.
Sure. Yeah.
This facility is gorgeous.
Awesome.
It is gorgeous.
That's good. Hey, thank you, man. We got to wrap it up.
This is great.
I appreciate the time.
Enjoyed it greatly.
Thanks. All right, we'll see what Bruce wants to do right here, Bruce. We're going to wrap it up.
Just wrap it up. Just look out there and say goodbye.
All right. Hey, goodbye. We're live streaming tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. So busy week for LO Hoops. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I will put on the segments where everybody